Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
The trembling woman looked at her husband and said, "I thought I saw a spider, but it was just a piece of yarn. It's dead yarn now." Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith. And God bless America on a Monday, January the 13th. I hope you're going to have a great day. Here we have Kate Smith. And a good morning to you and yours. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch on this Monday, January 13th, and outside 27 degrees. We'll hear more about the weather in just a moment. We're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires to get through whatever the winter weather throws at you. And, of course, don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you, and Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jerry. God bless you, my dear friend. Thank you so much. Right now, we've got a scoot to the weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Hello, Roger and the crew. They're already there. They're already working. And I'll tell you what, they've got the best of tools and equipment for your rental. For whatever project you have to finish, they've got the tools to get it done. For rental for both long and short term, give them a call, stop in, whatever, but talk to the pros, and that's K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway, 678-3122. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Clouds are sticking around for today and expect some snow showers for tonight. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies for today. Winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 28 miles an hour. So be prepared for drifting snow as we make our way through today. High of 33 tonight. Snow showers are coming. We are expecting a south-southwest wind at about 15 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 23 miles an hour. New snow accumulations of 1 to 2 inches possible for tonight. Tomorrow, the snow is going to continue, looking at about another inch of snow. Going to be breezy as well. Expecting a high of 33. Then for Wednesday, we might see some sunshine. Winds are going to be calming down just a little bit and a high of 30. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, let's get it out of our system, if you would. I'm sick of the snow already. Stay up in the hills, not down here. Hey, weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. You betcha. I told you they're right there on the Burley-Paul Highway, and these folks really, really care. Please get a hold of them today. If you have questions, call them at 678-3122. K&R Rental. Really nice people. I want to remind you, too, that if you've got a whole pile of rumply-crumplies laying there in the bedroom closet or on the floor in the bedroom, whatever, and you go, I haven't got time to wash my clothes. Well, don't worry about it. Take them into Daryl's Cleaners. They will wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes. And then you go down, pick them up, and you go, holy moly, they're brand new. Well, you stop in, whether it's dry cleaning or washing your clothes, they're the best at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. We've got an outstanding program today. Rick Manning and Frosty Woldridge. Armin Brott going to be talking about why lonely men don't live as long and don't have as good a lifestyle. And then, of course, at 10:32 this morning, the first of many of the Idaho legislative updates. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. And that's not bragging, that's a fact. They've got the best and they serve the best. All you have to do is just get a hold of them. Either stop in at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, or give them a call at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, serving you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's take care of a couple of the sports notes real quick. Tonight is going to be the college football championship. LSU, Louisiana State University against Clemson, and it's number 1 in the ranking, LSU against number 3 in the rankings, Clemson. And yes, I will go out on my little limb right now and say that I believe that LSU will win by 10 points over Clemson. So the smart money would tell you should probably bet the other way. And also, next Sunday will be the conference championships. Yep, the AFC and the NFC championships. And it's going to pit the Tennessee Titans against the Kansas City Chiefs. What a game they played yesterday. And also my team. I'm going to start wearing my cheese head right here in the morning. Green Bay has made it all the way to the conference championships and for the NFC, and they're going to be playing San Francisco out in Frisco. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little nervous. Frisco's really playing some good football. The 49ers have had a great season. But then on the other hand, Green Bay defeated the Seattle Seahawks last night. Randy Wynn, if you're listening, I don't mean to go, aha, gotcha, but I have to. Randy's, of course, a dyed-in-the-wool Seahawk fan. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you of Denny's Restaurant, and, of course, that's America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. I mean, they've got some delicious new additions to the menus. Oh, my goodness. You already have heard me brag many, many times about those delicious strawberry crepes. Deanna loves those. And then they've got that Parmesan chicken, sizzling skillet. Oh, it's good, good, good. You better stop in today. Great food, nice people serving you at Denny's Restaurant. 611 North Overland in Burley. Yep, America's Diner. All right, callers, let's start the week off right. Give me a jingle. California is leading the way to the land of stupid. They are going to they voted to give health care and all health care benefits to illegal aliens. And remember, these are illegals that shouldn't be here. And it's warping and taxing and lowering the standard of health care all across the board. And it's going to cost the taxpayers of California over $350 million a year minimum. You know, please, somebody out there in the audience, tell me, what is the sense in hurting our citizenry, our elderly, our people that have just absolutely a shoestring to live on, but they're citizens, and we're not helping them. We're not aiding and abetting their situation, but we're providing health care benefits for literally millions of illegal aliens and refugees in this country over and above our citizens. What is the matter with us? You cannot be a sponge to absorb all the problems in the world. Sooner or later, when that sponge has absorbed everything, it goes to the bottom of the well. This is absolutely insane. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, there is going to be some big doings coming up at the Idaho Irrigation Show, and it's going to be this Thursday from 8 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon at the Best Western Inn and Convention Center. I talked to those folks the other day, and they are going to have a ripping good week. It's free, no registration, and they're going to have over 50 irrigation equipment meetings, manufacturers, I should say, dealers and distributors of landscape and ag irrigation products are going to be there. Educational classes, lots of that. Hey, farmers, everybody should be aware of the 2020 Idaho Irrigation Equipment Show this week at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center. This Thursday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. You be there. All right, now come on, get on the telephone and give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I really found this to be interesting, but it looks like the people of Iran, the Iranian people, are protesting, not us. No, not the United States. No, not the flag of the United States. No, not burning our flag. Not in condemnation of President Trump. No, they are after their leadership and chanting and screaming and yelling and protesting death to the tyrants. The people of Iran are absolutely inspired right now, after the heinous events of what took place in the last couple of days, to go after their leadership. But the leadership and the government and the cowards are fighting back, and shooting at their own citizenry. Not just using tear gas, but real ammunition. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. At the Burley Senior Center, we're having turkey pot pie today and all the trimmings and yummy dessert.
Wow, that was short and sweet. By the way, do you know what the dessert is?
Do I know what?
What the dessert is?
No.
Oh, okay.
They probably haven't decided yet.
Oh, okay.
It'll be good.
All right. Well, Joe, we're going to send everybody over there for $5. You can't go wrong. The food's great, and the people are nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
God bless you, Joe Taylor. He just keeps on rolling along. He's our version of the ever-ready bunny. Hey, don't forget Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce Annual Installation Banquet, January 30th at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center. Doors are going to open at 6 o'clock, and the evening includes dinner, auction, installation of the board of directors, and honoring special individuals around the area. And for tickets, get your tickets now. Don't wait. 679-4973. That number again, 679-4973. Coming up on January 30th, Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce Annual Installation Banquet. Come on, now it's your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What was really interesting about watching the Iranian people in their protest, they have, some kind of a ceremonial where they paint the colors of different flags on the cement, on their highways and everything, and if they can't stand somebody, they jump up and down on that respective flag and or colors. Our flag is on the pavement, and it was very noticeable that when the protest started, people absolutely avoided stepping on the colors of the red, white, and blue of the United States of America, and instead chanted against their own government and were stomping on their flag and their colors. So there's some big changes going on over in Iran, and maybe we are not going to have to be the Matt Dillon over this situation. Maybe the people of Iran are going to create the cause the change that's necessary over there. John Kerry, boy, there's a real piece of liberal work. You know, when you look at this guy, John Kerry is just a person that you just love to dislike. And he was asked questions this past weekend regarding when he was involved with Barack Obama in the Obama administration, the money that went to Iran, the billions that went to Iran. And he deflected every single time they asked the question about the money. He deflected that and changed it so that it was a negativity against Donald Trump. Donald Trump had nothing to do with the pallets of cash being unloaded on that jet late at night over in Tehran. And Iran, it's been estimated now almost solidified that they use that cash for terror and missiles, but Kerry actually, honestly, in some of his news interviews yesterday, came out and blamed Donald Trump. I mean, my grandmother used to say, ay, 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 and that's exactly what you have to say when it comes to the Democrats, both past and present. Ay, 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 ay. Calls are welcome. Come on, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. Want to remind you, too, about our friends at Dino Septic Service, and they really are out there doing a job that you and I do not want to do. You don't want to be standing out there pumping a septic tank. Oh, no. And sewer and sink drain lines cleaned and liquid waste removal. And they've got the best of backhoe services and septic tanks and drain fields installed. All of this and a whole lot more. I urge you to call Dino Septic Service at 436-6526 or 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service. They really, really care. Dino's Septic Service. You get a hold of them today. Great folks. All right, gee, I'm going to have to offer a prize, I think, to get somebody to call. The Iowa caucus is 3 weeks away from today. It's kind of a weird little system of creating a top nominee from the caucus. And right now, believe it or not, and I don't even want to think about it, Bernie Sanders, of all the socialist/communist, is in the lead for the Democrats at the Iowa caucus. Now, are you concerned like I am about Bernie Sanders? Are you concerned like I am about Elizabeth Warren and the fingers in the pie like from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and many others? I mean, these people are avowed socialist, communist mindsets that want to change and transition the United States and our Constitution and take us away from a capitalist government, a capitalist leadership in this country, and turn us into a socialist state. Are you concerned? I mean, my goodness sakes. We should all be speaking up and speaking out against this. And now they're even getting more people involved with their heinous little group. I don't even know anything about this woman other than she supposedly is a rock singer that a lot of the younger generation just absolutely goes, oh, she's so fantastic and everything. Cardi B, I mean, I couldn't care less about who she is or whatever. But now this singer, Cardi B, says she may run for Congress. Oh, goody. And she is a big friend and supporter of Bernie Sanders. My. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I also want to remind you that later on this morning, we're going to have Scott Bedke on the program with the Idaho Legislative Update. And Speaker Bedke is going to be our first interview as to what's going on up at the legislative session. And I'm really looking forward to talking to him about the issues that are really coming into prominence that are going to take the time and the effort of our legislators for this year. So that's coming up, and that's brought to you by Handy Truck Lines, and it will be at 10:30 this morning. All right, come on now. Your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I had a call from a dear friend the other day, and I think her and her husband are probably listening right now. And we got to talking about refugees and illegal aliens. And I have not pulled any punches with my stand on refugees coming into this area in really what they want now, unlimited numbers. And I have never pulled any punches on my attitude about illegal aliens coming into this country. And I really question, and I want somebody to tell me why or how come that Governor Brad Little has basically opened the state of Idaho up with a doormat of saying welcome to all these refugees. More and more coming here. More costs to us, the taxpayers. And I'll tell you what I'm really concerned about, not only our expenses, not only our wages, and this is a proven fact, this isn't from Zeb only, that when they come in mass numbers, wages go down in that respective area and creates less opportunity for employment for our youth to get a job and get into the job level entry market and teach them some responsibility. And it also lowers overall the standard of living. And more of these people that come in, also it bolsters the left-wing vote. Now, the U.S. cannot and should not be the sponge to soak up all of these people coming in here. That's just not going to work. What are your thoughts? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Mr. Bell. We did talk about that the other day, and it's still in the forefront of my mind. Who the heck is going to pay for all these things? They get free housing, free food, free medical, free colleges. We, the taxpayers, are paying for this. And quite frankly, I don't want those people in my neighborhood.
Donna, one of the things that really bothers me is they say, and I've heard this from many, many people, well, this is all federal grant money. Wait a minute, Donna, please, in 20 words or less, tell me where that federal grant money comes from.
Me and you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's not. Nothing is free. Absolutely nothing is free. But yet, they're bringing all these people in. Look at the destruction they've caused in Twin Falls so far. I hate going to Twin.
We're going to sound very bigoted, and we're going to sound like we're hate mongers. No, I let me finish my point. We're going to sound like that to the so-called listeners out in the audience that have these kind of moaning hearts for letting more people in all the time. But really, when you think about it, we're seeing a fragmentation of our culture. We're seeing a damaging to our culture. I like the Western culture. I enjoy the small city attitude. I enjoy all this. Why do we always have to get bigger by implementing means and ways to let other people come in and enjoy what we've worked for?
I don't understand it either. I don't know. I don't understand Governor Little's stand on this. He said it's a plus for the community.
Yeah, how?
He's so far out of touch. Look at all these young girls who are being taken out of their yard, taken in these laundry rooms, and molested.
Well, wait a minute, Don, just a second. We've got to be really careful here that we don't exaggerate the circumstances and say all of these girls, etc. We know of one occasion like that was a very tragic news story. But what I'm going to stay with the facts. And the facts are that when they come in, they are given so much and provided so much, more so than our own citizenry.
Yeah, I don't understand why they think it's such a great thing for the community. If they would assimilate and abide by our laws and our government, that probably wouldn't bother me as much. But these people are not, They're not trying to assimilate here. They're bringing their crap with them. I'm sorry, their culture with them. And I just don't understand how they can think that that's better for our community.
Well,
I'm like you. I love the Western lifestyle. I love living in the country. But you know what? We're being infringed on, and if we don't stand up and say enough is enough, we're sunk.
I could not agree more, and I look at your town. Caller number 2, stand by, I'll be right there. I look at your town of Rupert, and I look at the kind of the wonderful life aspect of the city square and all the people that are hand in hand enjoying all the different things that are on in the city park and everything. And I just wonder if they really want a fragmentation of that kind of a culture.
No, I can tell you for sure that they do not.
Donna, I always...
It just, I don't understand why. I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, that's all right. I was just going to say thank you for your call and how much I appreciate it. But please call me back on this later. We're going to be doing some more on this in the next couple of days with some people that really have some numbers, and we'll share that with you.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Donna.
Wonderful day,
no, you too. Thank you so much. Caller number 2, I'm going to take your call before I give away some cookies. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Good morning, Jim. Well, yeah, they don't assimilate. They want to bring their culture in. And, you know, us taxpayers, through grant money or whatever, I understand they get an equivalent of close to $50,000 tax-free. I know in Twin Falls, I have a friend where they have really nice housing, and my friend worked all his life to get a really nice house, and now these people move in, and they get a nice house right next door to him. Yeah, they're great neighbors at least, but see, that's the way it works. They will, according to Sharon Hayden, when he was here and spoke a couple different times, he was a convert from Islam, and he just points out they'll be great neighbors until they get a majority. And believe me, they go to the polls. They'll vote themselves into power. And they've already done that in Flint, Michigan, and down in Texas and other places. They have taken over. And if they don't believe in our Western culture, they don't believe in Christianity, they don't believe that Jesus is the Savior of the world. I mean, there's just so much in Islam itself. If you really study it, is a Babylonian god, and there was about 360 of them. They picked up one, and it's called Islam. And my opinion is, all my studies on the thing, Deb, and I've been to both 2 or 3 of these meetings, and I testified before the CSI Board of Trustees. It's all about the money.
Okay, I've got to jump in on you here a little bit, Adrian, because I do have another deal I have to take care of. But I want to say this: you're spot on in what you're saying and thinking. And my attitude is that everybody says, "Well, this is grant money, and it's all taken care of, like here locally through the CSI College of Southern Idaho Refugee Program." And the other day, sitting at the grocery store, and I've mentioned this real quick, give me a short response or I'm going to have to cut you off, is that nobody ever picked me up and took me to grocery stores and around the city in a van.
Yeah, well, and not only that, this is a true story. First-hand person.
Fast, real fast, Adrian, real fast.
Was at Costco, okay, wearing a cross, a Christian friend of mine wearing a cross. And this Muslim lady come up and said, "Take that cross off, it defends me." And and it ended up they had to go back to security and escort these 2 Muslim ladies out of the store.
I appreciate it.
I'm not making that up.
No, I know that I've heard that story from you and other people already. But Adrian, again, I appreciate your call. Thank you so much, and don't hesitate to give me a call in the future. Thank you. Appreciate it. I want to remind everybody we're going to give away some cookies really, really quick to Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert, right there on the square. The best of a restaurant, the best of a bakery serving you. And I got to get this in real quick. I'm going to ask an easy question this morning. Very easy question. If you're the winner of the cookies, don't forget to call Sophie's and let them know when you'll be by for your cookies. A very famous film actress that converted over to television was the matriarch on the TV series The Big Valley. Who was that very famous film actress that converted over to TV and was also a great success? She was the matriarch on the TV series back in the 60s called The Big Valley. Who was that actress? First person to call with the right answer is going to win the cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox in Rupert. Quickly, give us a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Well, I'm waiting for your call. Come on, that's an easy one. All right, caller, you're on the air. Who was it?
Barbara Stanwyck.
And who is this calling?
This is Debbie Hambleton.
I'm sorry, Debbie, what was the last name again?
Hambleton.
Hambleton. Well, you are the lucky winner. It was Barbara Stanwyck. Thank you very much. And you call Sophie's and let them know when you'll be in for your cookies, okay?
I will do, and thank you very much.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you very much. Barbara Stanwyck was the right answer, and she made quite a conversion. I think she was one of the first to go back from the big films to television and really was successful. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental. We had Cody on the air with us last Thursday. They really have all the equipment to get the job done. I mean the tough jobs of the lifting, the digging, the pushing, the carrying, the grading, the leveling, everything. They've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators, and they've got all the Bobcats. I mean, all the shapes and sizes. They really have some outstanding lease programs and some great financing programs to purchase. So please do not put it off. Get a hold of them today at Barry Equipment and Rental. Located at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Napa location. Don't forget the best serving you at Barry Equipment and Rental. All right, folks, come on, get on the phone and give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I don't want to see a fragmentation and a weakening or a dissolvement of our culture. I don't care if you're living in the West with a Western culture or if you're living in the Midwest, whatever area. But I'm seeing and talking to people all over the United States. I call people in Texas. I call people in Indiana. I call people in Wisconsin, North Dakota, California, etc. And there's a real fear that we are losing our it. I know that sounds funny, but we're losing it. What made America great in a bonding together, a binding together. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. My feeling on this whole immigrant refugee thing is obviously we don't need any more. And we have a lot of jobs that we can fill. And I think that the people that don't have a job that could have a job should work. But the other part of it is just like you're saying, you can obviously see that they're coming in to overtake our elections. They're coming to take over everything. It's not just our elections. They want everything. And they'll just do like a locust does and take all the good and leave nothing but waste behind. On the other side of that, how are we going to stop it if when we go to vote, people we vote for just go ahead and do it? I'm wondering if they're getting paid under the table to say, yeah, we'll take refugees, like our governor. Or is it one of those deals that if we don't get the federal dollars? Anyway, I'll let you go.
Well, Riley, I really appreciate your call, and I noticed that in the news the last couple of days, as a matter of fact, the state of Texas, the governor down in Texas has said no, he's not going to go along with an expansive, more numbers of refugees coming into the state of Texas, and I really question what was on the mind of Governor Brad Little when he did this, and also the Twin Falls City Council. It really scares me if you want to know the truth.
Well, and unless somebody could prove me wrong, I kind of have the idea. It's all, everything follows the dollar. Follow the dollar, There's got to be some kickback somewhere that someone's getting to say, we'll do it. But you look at all the growth that we're having with residential building and houses and everything. That's great. Other than like in Twin Falls, they're putting houses on farmland, and our area was agronomically strong. We kind of still are, but how much longer till we run out of place to farm and grow food for the world? How much longer before we turn into a Detroit or a San Francisco, or how much longer?
Yeah, and there was a.
I'm not trying to say I'm against growth. I'm against bad growth, and to me, that's a cancer.
Absolutely. Riley, I always appreciate your call. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. You know what he was talking about, farmland and everything, and how much longer is it going to be before we lose our ability to be feeding ourselves and also the number one food source for the world. It really bothers me to think back at a program I had about 3-4 months ago with a guy by the name of John Tamney. And he was on the air, and he blatantly came out and said, well, he was an advocate of seeing all agricultural products and growth and farming in this country stopped, and we could import our food, what he said, a lot more feasibly than growing it. And I just about wanted to crawl through the telephone line and strangle the man because of his utmost stupidity. And any country, and I'll stand behind this statement, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and if you want to take issue with me, go ahead. Any country that relies on other countries for its food becomes subservient to those other countries and can very easily be taken over. And I just don't want to see our agricultural products with basically labels China and other foreign countries. I want our agricultural program to stay strong. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'll take some more calls, and I appreciate your calls. There's one, as a matter of fact, that just jumped right in as a matter of record. Good morning, you're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, it's me again. Sorry, but you brought up another point that is very, very important. I don't know how many people think of this. What is the most valued commodity on this planet? The most valuable commodity. It isn't gold. It isn't a metal. It isn't a gem. It's food. Because you just said it. If you don't have food, you're done.
Yeah. Food and water are the necessities right up front. And up from that food, you can also do the manufacturing and the implementation of your clothing. So food and water, of course, the main basics that humans need to adhere to. And all of a sudden in a world conflict, or somebody really wants to put the kibosh on any country to cut back on their imports and really literally starve people to death, that's what happens when a country is subservient to other people.
I wouldn't doubt people spending $1 of gold for half a pound of flour.
Yeah, if you had
hungry enough, you'll do it.
If you had that half pound of gold. Thanks, Riley. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah. Time for the weather, and then I'll take some more of your calls. 436-2244. Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they really, really care about your hearing health. Caller, I'll be right there. Now, don't hang up. I'll be there in just 60 seconds. There are many, many causes of hearing loss, and they know and they can help you. So please don't put it off. Call Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids and make a hearing screening appointment. Here hear what you're missing. The number to call, 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Clouds are sticking around for today and expect some snow showers for tonight. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies for today. Winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 28 miles an hour. So be prepared for drifting snow as we make our way through today. High of 33 tonight. Snow showers are coming. We are expecting a south-southwest wind at about 15 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 23 miles an hour. New snow accumulations of 1 to 2 inches possible for tonight. Tomorrow, the snow is going to continue, looking at about another inch of snow. Going to be breezy as well, expecting a high of 33. Then for Wednesday, we might see some sunshine. Winds are going to be calming down just a little bit and a high of 30. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at Tyrant.
Thank you, Gina. And, of course, at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, they really are committed to providing expert diagnostic testing combined with the best technology to provide the most comprehensive treatments available for your hearing health. Call for an appointment, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Thank you.
Yeah, you were talking about food being the most important thing. I hear these ads, and they go, oh, times get tough, buy gold, invest in gold and silver and all that crap. And I think, well, I'll take my $20 I was going to invest in gold and go down and buy me a case of green beans. And
Well, my point is, and I think you agree with me from what you're saying, is that this lunacy of thinking that we can import and make it feasible all of our food from foreign countries. Number one, the food from foreign countries, no way, no how, is as comprehensively safe as what we do right here in this country. Number two, when you basically shortchange the American public and say we're going to import all of our food products, not only with the safety factors and hazards, but you're also saying, okay, country A, if you don't like us and you cut off our food, what are we going to do? We're going to stand on the docks and we're going to wish?
it's almost like the people who live in Florida or Alabama or whatever, and the hurricane's coming, so we wait till the umpteenth hour to go down and see if we can get something out of the grocery store. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be the same thing if somebody else was supplying our food.
I just, when that gentleman, and I used the term loosely on my program that day, said that he would like to see the elimination of all agriculture in this country and just import it in, he said we'd be stronger, and I thought, and you are a complete idiot, and your thinking is just absolutely going to hurt America as a sovereign nation. I can't understand these people when they say something so dumb.
Well, could we follow him around the grocery store, and when he picks up a head of lettuce that was grown in California or an orange that was grown, put it back.
Yeah.
You can't eat that. That was grown here in the States.
I think one group of people in this country that are far, far deserving of more praise and accolade, and that's our farmers and ranchers for the job they do. And we very seldom ever hear anybody stand up and say, God bless American agriculture.
Exactly.
Thank you for your call. It's always a treat to talk to you.
Flat ground that we'll build our great big house on it.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. God bless.
I love having that lady call. Good morning, everybody. Give us a jingle, please. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What is your favorite meal of the day? Is it breakfast? Is it lunch, or is it supper/dinner, whatever you call it? I'll talk more about this in just a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Are agricultural communities more stable? Do they add stability to our country?
Are you asking me that question? Do they add stability?
Yeah, I'm thinking they do.
Well, absolutely.
In a lot of ways.
Well, okay, if you had to, let's just and caller number 2, stay there, I'll be right with you. All of a sudden, if you say, well, gee, I'd like to have a nice big juicy steak tonight for supper, and I'd like to have some button mushrooms with it, I'd like to have a real good potato, and I'd like to have maybe for dessert a little peach pie, oh boy, that sounds good. But if it's not grown locally, and it's not grown in the United States of America, and you're standing on the dock hoping and wishing that that's going to be your next shipment of food, that's pretty unstable, isn't it?
It is. I'm also thinking, too, because of I'm wondering if we don't have a little bit more of a family orientation in those communities. If you know what I mean. We're not, because there's more of the families are on the land.
Yeah.
And the families are together also.
All I'm going to say about farmers and food production and the safety and security of our food source, it's not going to happen. It won't be there if we keep letting other foreign countries bring the imports to us, because you know the stability of the world today, there is no stability. And with the heavy hand of some governments saying thou shalt not ship, we could end up in a starvation situation. Us, the strongest country in the world, relying upon other countries to bring us food, that's absolutely insane.
Crazy. And we have safety in our food if we continue to keep it clean, keep it safe, and keep the quality up.
There you go. Linda, it's always good to hear from you. And
for us, I think, to be able to export and help other countries, but we've got to keep our food.
There you go. God bless you. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
You too.
Thank you. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Zebedee, I'm thinking this word impeachment for our governor.
I'm going to have Brad on the phone, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I'm trying to get a date established when I can have him on here. And I'm going to ask him very bluntly why he decided to increase the numbers and why we, the state of Idaho, are going to be the recipients of more numbers of refugees when other states like Texas are holding up a hand and saying, no, enough is enough.
Money.
Got it.
I think it's the dollar sign.
I think you're absolutely right, Bob, and I can tell by your voice that you're not in favor of it.
Well, no, I'm not in favor of it, but I'm in favor of maybe impeaching that guy. He's doing a whole lot worse than Mr. Trump.
Well, are you going to use one topic for a matter of impeachment, or are you mad about other issues also?
Well, right now, just this thing that we're talking about.
Okay. All right. I guarantee you he will be...
Have a good day, Zach.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Bob, God bless you, and I mean that. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm going to have Governor Little on the phone, and, you know, somebody said to me this weekend when I was talking about this, well, yeah, but isn't he a friend of yours? Yeah. Brad Little is a friend of mine, but that doesn't mean that he's above the questions as to why we're doing this when other states are saying, no, enough is enough. So we'll find out. I'll take some more call. I get call time right after this good word for our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget all 7 locations serving you with all the tires that you need to get on the roadways and go through whatever the weather throws at you. I mean, they've got all the different tread designs, all the sizes. They've got tires like the Winter Cat tire, increased stability, advanced winter traction. They've got the Himalaya tire, enhanced grip. I mean, they've got all your tire chains. They've got the best in front end alignment, shocks and struts, and brake service and batteries. It's all there. All there. They've been doing the right thing since 1952. All you got to do is stop in today and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. They're the best. Great service to you. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. What have we got cooking for the rest of the morning? Well, next hour we've got Rick Manning coming on the program, and there's a guy that's really going to give us some straight answers on a lot of things, including this mess over in Iran, and also the mess that we've got right here in our backyard with Nancy Pelosi. Oh, she's going to turn over the articles of impeachment. Well, lo and behold, we'll see what's going to happen there. And then, of course, Frosty Woldridge at 9:30, talking about, quite frankly, the refugee problem and the illegal aliens. At 10:06 this morning, Armin Brott's going to be in, and at 10:30 this morning, of course, don't forget, like I mentioned, our first installment of the Idaho Legislative Update, and we're going to be featuring Speaker of the House Scott Bedke this morning, talking about what they're going to be trying to accomplish and do at the 2020 legislative session up in Boise, and it's brought to you by Handy Truck Lines. We really give them a great big shout out and a thank you. So stay with us the rest of the day. It looks like we've got snow in the forecast outside right now, 28 degrees, and be safe winter conditions on the highways and byways with all the snow and the slippery conditions. Right now we're going to send it over to Wheels, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. Good morning and welcome back to hour number 2 on a Monday, January 13th. Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for whatever the weather throws at you. And, of course, don't forget to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And lastly, Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia Disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services helping to trash cancer, and they've got a great program. It's called Power in Pink, and of course you can enroll in the Pink Trash Cart program for your home, and the initial enrollment fee is $50 for all customers, and much of the money goes right to St. Luke's for the mammography unit or North Canyon Medical Center's mammography. They're really helping to fight cancer at, of course, Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Power in Pink. Talk to them today about your pink trash cart for your home, and let's all help trash cancer. Want to remind you also about what's going on at the Burley Inn Convention Center. It's going to be on Thursday. It's big. Absolutely. The 2020 Idaho Irrigation Equipment Show this week at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center. Thursday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. It's free. No registration. They're going to have over 50 irrigation equipment manufacturers, dealers, distributors of landscape and ag irrigation products will be there. Educational classes. I mean, this is a big day. I don't know how they get it all in. And it's going to be, of course, at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center Thursday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Do not miss it. Absolutely. Real quick notice, too, about our friends at Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff serving you. And when I say serving, I really mean that because they care. When there's the passing of a loved one, they are always there to help the families. They serve with the best possible support and comfort, and always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. I urge you to call the number 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Ladies and gentlemen, every week when we start this program, We, on Mondays at 9:06, we're very, very thankful to have this gentleman be a part of our show. He is the president of Americans for Limited Government and co-author of the book with Star Parker called Necessary Noise. Good morning, Richard Manning. How are you, Rick?
I'm doing great. How are you, Zeb?
Not too bad. There's so many things in the news this morning that I am a little bit concerned as to where to start. I think I'll start with Iran. I think this country, Iran, probably had a really bad week last week, from having to stand down from President Trump in the United States. Then they shot down a jetliner. Then they had earthquakes. And now they're getting a tumultuous response from their citizenry to basically chant and shout death to the tyrants. The people in Iran are trying to say, let's get rid of the bums that are running this government. What are your thoughts about what's going on over in Iran?
Well, the Iranian people have long been vocal against the Muslim regime that runs Iran. You can remember the revolution that occurred when President Obama was president, and where we sat down and we basically allowed the Iranian regime to slaughter their own citizens to put it down. It wasn't a revolution of guns and knives. It was a revolution of votes, and they ended up, the Iranian regime basically wiped them out. And arrested the leaders, tortured the leaders, and disappeared the leaders. Now we're seeing it happen again, and the catalyst is really threefold. Number one, there's been repressive crackdowns again. Number two, Soleimani being taken out really showed the weakness of the Iranian government and gave hope to the people, to protesters, that there was vulnerability. And three, the shoot down of the airliner was in fact really incensed a lot of people, and they see this regime on its heels, and the people there have been wanting to replace it for a while. And President Trump has said clear, it's not the United States' business to engage in regime change. It's the people of Iran's business, if that's what they want. So he stood firmly with the people of Iran, unlike our former president.
You know, Rick, when you look at the situation, and there have been some deaths, there's been shootings, they're using live ammunition on their own people, can they persist, and can they, in your opinion, possibly get rid of the Ayatollah and others of that government hierarchy and change things for the better, or is this an exercise in futility?
I don't know, and that's... I'd like to hope that you have, some alternatives, but it's one side has the guns and the power, and the other side has the passion, and it's really hard to see how this is going to come out. But sort of like if back in 1776, people would have said, "Can the United States, the revolutionaries, the colonists, actually stand up to the world's greatest military power and win?" And the answer, if you'd gone to Vegas and, bet on it, you wouldn't be able to get very good odds on the Americans' chance of winning, yet somehow we did. So it was I don't bet against freedom fighters ever, but based on, power and who has the resources to control things, the Iranian regime has proven a willingness to do whatever cruel things are necessary to maintain power, and they have shown that they are, and so far they have. That doesn't mean they will tomorrow, but it means that until regime change comes, you really can't expect it to come.
I noticed that there have been some, not very many, but some commentators have said that this is creating more of a plus for the Trump administration, even with some of the people like the New York Times and others that are absolutely avowed liberals and can't stand the dirt that Donald Trump walks on. But when you look at this entirety of this situation with Soleimani and the shooting down of this jet by the Iranians and the lying by the Iranians, and now the people are in outrage. I wonder how this is going to affect other countries like Syria and others in the Middle East to say, hey, we've had enough of the garbage from our government. Maybe we can do like our Iranian friends.
I don't know that it's going to have a great deal of impact elsewhere in the Middle East because every situation is a little bit different. But I do think that you're going to see, in Iraq you'll see some fallout from it because the Shia in Iraq who are affiliated with Iran have basically taken hold and taken over the government in Iraq. And I think the people who are Sunni are going to begin to mobilize a little bit. The problem with the Sunnis is they were wiped out in the ISIS war. Not that they were on ISIS's side, it's just they were in the way. And as a result, the Iranians, when they were operating their Shia militias in Iraq, they didn't discriminate between killing the ISIS members and leading Sunni leaders. And as a result, the Sunni leadership in Iraq has been pretty much decimated. So it remains to be seen if they've got enough people there, enough leaders to be able to come back and take advantage of this right now to try to effectively stabilize Iraq.
Let me ask you this next question. I'm going to jump the rails onto another set of tracks going the other way.
Okay.
Nancy Pelosi is turning over the articles of impeachment, and there seems to be all kinds of turmoil and rifts within her own party. A lot of Democrats are unhappy with the way she's handled this. I still don't understand why there was such urgency in the House, and then all of a sudden there was a laying on the beach and holding on to the papers for all these weeks. What do you think, in your opinion, is going to happen with these articles of impeachment, if anything?
I think that the Speaker will get the articles of impeachment to the Senate by Friday. The Senate will then bring it up on the following Tuesday, which is the day after Martin Luther King Day. And at that point, every single presidential candidate who's a senator will be trapped in Washington, D.C. in advance of the Iowa caucus and the New Hampshire primary. And I think Nancy Pelosi had her eye on that clock, on that calendar, and it's actually why she did it. It didn't really make any sense from a political strategic perspective because they were losing. But I think what she's doing is she's effectively trying to put her thumb on the scale for the Democratic establishment against Bernie Sanders.
For the purpose of trying to sway the possible nomination, but Bernie leads right now, of all things, at the Iowa caucus, the polls for that. Biden has slipped down to number 4. This whole situation just blows my mind that there would be any support whatsoever in massive numbers for a socialist/communist like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, or whatever. I mean, what's going on in America that we would even contemplate socialism with Bernie Sanders?
Well, the Democrats have always been for big government, and Bernie Sanders is the one who actually tells them the truth about what big government looks like. So now he's not willing to tell you the truth about what his Medicare for all costs and the like, but he is willing. He's the one who's most rhetorically pure. Because if you're a Democrat, you are accepting socialism by and large. You're just not willing to say it. So it becomes a problem. And by the way, Republicans have the same problem, only a little less so, because they always want to do just a little less than the Democrats. But Bernie Sanders has been given a huge boost because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has endorsed him. She's been going to rallies with him, and that has dramatically boosted his campaign. And so I believe that he is going to find himself, so Nancy Pelosi is sticking him in D.C. and forcing him to stay in D.C. at a time when you really need to be a retail politician and touch hands and do the like in Iowa and New Hampshire. Now, whether that strategy succeeds or not remains to be seen, but it certainly is, I think the intent and the effect is to attempt to damage Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, particularly Bernie.
Please tell me in, I don't care how many words or less it takes, what is the affection for or the addiction to someone like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? Here's a 30-year-old woman that doesn't know Khmer from Sikkim, doesn't understand the Constitution, makes radical statements that anybody with half a brain can see through. What is the affection for this young woman?
Well, if you've been raised through our college system that America is actually evil, that we have no right to exist, we are in fact nothing more than European oppressors and need to be extinguished so the native peoples can retake their lands. If you've been indoctrinated to that point of view, she's a very attractive candidate. She's a very attractive spokesperson because that's the point of view she espouses. And I'm going to tell you, it's a point of view that has become has been successfly inculcated into the U.S. Education system, and as a result, there's a lot of people willing to fall for that. Now, and she's somebody who embodies that. She doesn't know anything. I mean, she knows very little. She's smart enough to say her lines. She's smart enough to give a good speech, but she knows very little in terms of what's actually happening, how we got to where we are, and the level of the combination of freedom and hard work that has, in fact, made our nation the greatest nation on earth. And she will always point to slavery as being the original sin, and it was. But it was, unlike what she thinks, it wasn't the driver. In fact, slavery was one of the things that was holding back America. And what actually brought America through the Industrial Revolution was we got rid of it and effectively tried to and became a industrial powerhouse and changed our entire economy. So getting away from the slave model actually was one of the boons for our country, and yet that's not something they would ever say. Everything, they would believe that every single dollar comes from the blood of slavery, and it's just a false premise. But that's what they try to shove down people's throats. And Ocasio-Cortez is somebody who is the voice and face of that, and quite honestly, I've thought for a while that the Republicans at our side needs to have similar voices and faces to counter, because young people won't listen to old people. They never have.
Right.
So you need to have some young people talking about American exceptionalism, and that's something we need to raise up.
Well, that's well stated. Another question I have. The State of the Union is scheduled in a couple of weeks. In your opinion, with all of this impeachment mess, etc., should Donald Trump postpone the State of the Union, or should he go ahead full bore on the date that it's scheduled?
Well, the assumption might be that the impeachment will be over by then, and I don't see any reason why it won't be. I found it instructive that Nancy Pelosi chose the date, and Donald Trump accepted the date, and so the other possibility on her delay is to put the State of the Union in the midst of a trial, which would be very unseemly. But I don't think the Senate's going to spend that much time on a trial. They'll listen to the facts, they'll talk about the facts, and then they're going to vote on the facts. And the facts are that the House has not even alleged a crime, let alone proven one.
Your thoughts on any influence looking down the road? We're not that far away from a real heavy political onslaught of all the ads, etc., whether it's from Trump or whether it's from Bernie or whomever, leading up to the election in November. How much of an effect is this impeachment going to cause on the election?
I think almost none. If anything, it's energized Trump supporters, and the Democrats are desperately trying to have it energize the far left, and it might in their primaries. But the fact is, if it energizes the far left in the Democratic primaries, that's a disaster for the Democrats, because they can't win Bernie Sanders, I don't believe a Bernie Sanders can win. And given that, if they're pushing their voters, which, remember, primaries are turnout elections, and so it's people most motivated, and Joe Biden doesn't motivate anybody. And so they've got this problem. They don't have an alternative to Bernie Sanders who motivates. And so you're going to see a pretty far left nominee who, and it's going to be driven largely because they impeached the president. And so I think ultimately because of that, not because of the impeachment per se, but because of the cause and effect of the impeachment, I think the impeachment is going to be a big net plus for the president.
And, of course, I would be amiss if I didn't mention that next Sunday, you possibly are going to be battling me with your San Francisco 49ers, if you're a California football fan, against my Wisconsin Green Bay Packers, and I'll have to say that a little wager might be necessary.
Well, here's the problem. I really have never liked the 49ers. I was an LA Ram fan, and then they moved to St. Louis, and I moved to D.C., and I really don't have a dog in the fight. So I'll happily engage in a wager, but the reason I actually am rooting for Green Bay because I want just one old guy to survive. So it's Aaron Rodgers, even though he's from Northern California and played for Cal. Against my USC Trojans, I'm still I'm rooting for him based on age demographics and nothing else. But so I don't really have a dog in the fight in terms of Green Bay against the 49ers. But if you want to know who I think will win, I think the 49ers will win, and I think that they will win pretty easily. So if you want to do an off the air wager, or I'll bet you a bottle of Coke that the 49ers will win, but that's not based on my liking them. It's based on standard, real solid football analysis.
I tell you what, there's another game tonight that is really going to be even more Simon Pure, if you will, for football, and that's the college football championships between Louisiana State University and Clemson. And I got to tell you that I think LSU is just nothing more than a machine. I think they'll win that game handily.
I think the game's going to be very close. I really like Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, and I think he's more proven than Joe Burrow. But having said that, Ed Orgeron's a former USC coach. He's the guy who should be the coach of USC right now, and if not for mistakes made by former administration, and he's actually being assisted by John Robinson, who was the head coach when I went to SC.
Yes.
And Marcus Allen goes and speaks to the team. So I'm going to go with LSU also based on the USC connection. I also happen to think that they are indomitable right now. And Clemson is at the back end of a run. And when you get the back end of a run, you tend to be less. You don't want it as much. You're not living, dying, breathing to have it because they've already eaten from the fruit, and LSU is just dying to bite the fruit. So I think LSU wins.
Absolutely, well stated again. Rick, I hope you take care of that voice. It sounds like that cold's really caused you a lot of problems. But ladies and gentlemen, I thank the President of Americans for Limited Government every week on our show, Rick Manning. God bless you, man. Feel better.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. I really enjoy having him on the program for his political insight every week on Zeb at the Ranch. Want to remember, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Oh, my. At 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists doing a great job to help you get back to being you. We had Josh Greenwell on last Thursday and talked about what goes on over there with all the exercise programs and the use of the hydrotherapy pool, the only one of its kind in the entire area. I'm telling you, folks, if you have questions and you're aching and paining and need to recoup, please contact them today. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Number to call, 678-1191. Don't forget. Want to remind you, too, coming up on January 30th, don't forget the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce annual installation banquet, January 30th at 6 p.m. at the Best Western Inn and Convention Center. What a fun evening. Fun evening, including dinner, auction, installation of board of directors, honoring outstanding individuals, etc. in the Minnecasia area. Get your tickets now. Call the Chamber office at 679-4973. Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce annual installation banquet on January 30th. Don't you miss it. We're going to have our next guest with us in just a few moments, and that's, of course, my old buddy, Frosty Woldridge. But first and foremost, I also want to tell you about Let's Ride. Oh, boy, lots of snow up in those hills, and they've got all the items for fun up in the snow, the snowmobiles, the snow bikes, and all the accessories right there at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. I urge you to stop over and see these good folks today. Absolutely. Super service department to keep you running. I mean, it's all there for your fun. Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Yep, it's the truth. This is where the fun is sold. You stop in and see those great folks today. Real quick reminder, too, over in that same area, let's not forget our dear friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Hello, Todd and the crew over there with the best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits. They are so dedicated and so responsive to what you need. And believe me, they're devoted to serving you. All you have to do is just pick up the telephone, dial the number, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. And let them help you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. You give them a call today. Right now, let's go to the phone line. And another dear friend of mine on the program and ready to go, Frosty Woldridge, Golden, Colorado. How are you?
And good morning, Zeb. Always a pleasure, and definitely it's a great day to be alive. We've got this fresh new year coming at us, and we can make some really big changes, hopefully, across the country. And so, yeah, I'm ready to go.
You know, Frosty, a couple of things that I wanted to talk to you about this morning is Joe Biden saying last week that he would like to have millions upon millions more refugees and illegal aliens coming into this country. And I wanted you to respond to that, but then I also wanted to give you a great big shout-out for a great article of humorous quotes by the leaders in the White House and Congress. That was very well put together, and I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciated that.
Well, you know, you are a man of humor, and you've certainly caught me quite a few times in the past, and I've chuckled even after our conversations. And I know your listeners appreciate your humor, because sometimes you just knock us right out with it. And I'm starting to get a lot of quotes that are so humorous from a friend of mine, and he's a former U.S. Marine, was wounded in Vietnam 3 times, 3 Purple Hearts, and he is appalled at what's happening to our country, and so he's furnishing these humorous quotes. For those of you who would like to see them, newswithviews.com, it's called Great Quotes by Our Leaders in the White House and Congress. And it really shows the irony, but also the stupidities of continued criminal, congressional and senatorial people that are up there leading this country. And they're corrupt. Again, I've called for in my latest column term limits, 10 years, and also no for life retirement pensions for go back and do your own work. You don't get a free ride the rest of your life just because you got to be a congressman or a senator. And so anyway, yeah, it's a lot of fun, this one is. And, you know, that point you were making about refugees, boy, the American people are really starting to get sick and tired of Joe Biden and or Liz Warren, or certainly Bernie Sanders, who just want to bring in anyone and everyone to this country. As a matter of fact, in Bemidji, Minnesota, and I'm quite familiar with Bemidji, Minnesota. the entire town said, no, we don't want to have any refugees here because we don't want to become another Lewiston, Maine. We don't want to become a Minneapolis, Minnesota. We don't want to become a Miami, Florida, and, of course, all the other cities that are being inundated with these refugees. And so they've made national news, and I'm actually going to write a column on it, to the fact the American people are starting to turn and understand that we don't want to become like Canada, and we certainly don't want to become like Europe.
Well, okay, let's talk about this from that point. I know that Texas just came out last week, and Wheels, we've got a little feedback on the line there. Texas came out last week and said, no, wait a minute, we are done. We're full up. We don't want any more. But yet our governor here in the state of Idaho, Brad Little, and right here locally, the Twin Falls City Council have said, oh, come on in, come on, come all. We welcome you. I guess I'm a bigot and a hate monger because I don't want more here.
Well, again, I want every person to understand this, and I may have said it before. When you bring in such an aggressively and incompatible religion such as Muslims, Islam, the prime directive of that is in the Quran, which I have read, is to convert or kill all non-believers. That runs in the DNA of those who follow the Quran. That is in the DNA of everyone coming over there to Twin Falls in the state of Idaho. If you want a real taste of what finally happens with those refugees, just go into Somaliland in Minneapolis right now, where they've got 125,000 of them. Once they get past a certain point, they then start really manifesting their own culture. And they push it on you and everyone else, and they just become a parallel society. But in this case, these parallel societies that they're creating, not only in Minneapolis, but Fremont, California, certainly in Detroit, Michigan, which I have just visited last summer, and I also visited up in Lewiston, Maine. These people cannot and will not ever become Americans. It's impossible for them. But they do like to have your tax dollars to pay for their food, their housing, their transportation, their schools, and so forth and so on. And that's the rub here. And again, I can't say this enough. Those people in the third world that are creating their own countries that are becoming refugee countries, they're adding 83 million new babies net gain every year. I can't say this enough. And so no matter how much or how many you bring in to all of Idaho or Twin Falls or any town in all of Idaho, there will be another 10 million more that want to come in and be saved. But in the final analysis, we will destroy our own country, because in the end, it's just simply not sustainable. So the best thing to do for those refugees, and I'll give you this just came out by CIS.org, a 5-year study. Average refugee for the first 5 years spends and is given $63,000 a year of your money. We have the cost of a refugee is $63,000 a year to facilitate them here in the United States of America. That means your paycheck gets pulled and your wallet gets drained. And again, it doesn't save them, because again, Somalia, just for an example, Somalia right now is on course to add about 30-something million people before 2050. And so here we keep immigrating all of these Somalian refugees, and they create another 30 million Somalian refugees. Exactly what got solved here? So in the end, help them in their own country. First of all, birth control, then help them to understand how to make food, to have cultivation of food, and do something for themselves in their own country. Do I make sense here? And does that make me a hate monger or a nativist or a racist or anything? No. How about common sense? I'm just making common sense here. Doesn't that sound like common sense rather than racism or xenophobia or any of those other monikers?
Yeah, and the thing that gets me is that everybody seems to think that this is all grant money, federal grant money, etc. Well, where did the grant money come from in the first place? But the American taxpayers. But we're talking about our expenses. We're talking about our wages going down in those respective areas where there is a heavy influx of refugees. We're talking about employment for our youth. The entry jobs for our youth are diminished and taken away. And we're talking about, and maybe I'm wrong on this, correct me if I am, a lower standard of living for the respective area. I probably am going to be a hate monger and a bigot like they're saying of both of us, but I really am concerned about those items.
Well, you would be, again, when those people that start calling names as they do, they don't have any facts. They don't have a foundation or an understanding of reality, and when they can't combat somebody like you or like me with facts. When we come with the facts, I'm coming with the facts. The fact, again, $63,000 a year for the first 5 years per refugee. Okay, that's a lot of money when you think of the number of immigrants we brought into this country every year. Pardon me, over 1 million. Take 1 million people times $63,000 per of each one of these people. I think the whole cost is over $319 billion a year, according to balance.org. But then look at the reality of Somalia, where we're getting a whole bunch of them, or Sudan or Congo. They're going to add another 30 million, each one of those countries, by 2050. Has anything been solved? And so if my question is, has anything been solved? Is that a racist comment? No, it's a logical comment. It's a logical understanding. It's about math. It's simply about math and numbers. We can either sustain that or we can't. And in the final analysis, everyone listening to this program, do you think the United States, you, the American people, we, the American people, can we sustain the projected 110 million more immigrants into this country? Just think about that again. 110 million more people within 30 years are going to be added to this country if we don't change course. And even if we do change course, it's going to be a battle because we're so overloaded, and we're facing water shortages, energy shortages and depletion, certainly the resources in this country. I'm in the process of reading a book right now. It's called Blip, B-L-I-P, by Christopher Clugston, who is absolutely brilliant. And he says we are running out of resources so fast that by 2050, we'll be lucky if we can even sustain ourselves, let alone the rest of the world, because these resources are simply being drilled down to nothing. And if you don't have these resources, aluminum, metals, minerals, bauxite, it just goes on and on and on. The earth doesn't have any more. And there's no way we can continue this kind of a civilization without those metals and minerals. You read this book, and I'll tell you what, it'll put the fear of God in you. From the sheer reality is that what we're doing to ourselves is unsustainable. That and those are the facts.
Yeah, and there's another aspect of this, and again, tell me if you think I'm wrong, but take your under 100,000 people in a community, your population of under 100,000, and the smaller communities. Those smaller communities begin to fragment and lose their personality that really is what America stands for and lives for. Am I wrong in my thinking?
You're exactly correct. Again, I last summer, you all know, I cycled through 40 states, over 20 major cities. Why would we want to bring in a bunch of refugees when Baltimore is an absolute hellhole? Chicago, this last weekend, there were 66 gunfights and 12 people died in Chicago. New York City, the slums of New York City, L.A. with 59,000 people who are literally living in tents in the slums of the streets of Los Angeles. That's going on in Denver right here, a very successful city. 10,000 people in Denver, 6,000 in Seattle. I mean, I can just go on and on. Does it make any sense, all those people that are listening that are calling you or me racists and hate mongers, does it make any sense when we have all the kinds of problems of homelessness in our country right now, the drug addiction, opiate problems, to bring in people who are costing $63,000 a year into our country when we can't even take care of our own country? Tell me some logic there by calling you or me or anyone who says no more immigration, no more refugees. The only thing you can come up with is that they're racist. How about they're logical, they're rational, and they understand what the end result of all of this refugee immigration mess is, because it simply is unsustainable. Those are the facts, and facts are not racist.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate that 63,000 is on a per-person basis, not a bulk number. I don't want anybody to be misled or misunderstand. That's on a per-person basis. And I guess another question that needs to be addressed is, okay, somebody says, well, gee, why are we doing this? Who's getting some money under the table? Who is getting some of this money to promote more refugee living and installments at various cities around the United States?
Catholic charities, Lutheran charities, you've got all these different church groups, and they're the ones that are literally and they get paid a lot of money. They get paid a lot of money. And guess what, folks? You're the one that pays for the plane flight over here. You pay for all the food for all these refugees. You pay for all the housing. You pay for everything. You and I pay for it, and I work my tail feathers off, and it's not like I'm one of those really rich Americans with white privilege. I work for a living. And so, again, this thing cannot be sustained. It simply cannot be sustained. At some point, the whole system falls. We're $23 trillion in debt in this country. We can't continue doing this, because it simply is, it gets down to the numbers and it gets down to the finances, and the fact is we are well overdrawn at $23 trillion in debt right now. And again, if you would just drive through the streets of Baltimore or Detroit or Minneapolis with the Somaliland, if you go down into the inner guts of Los Angeles, it's not safe anymore. Miami, if you're an American, especially a Caucasian American, you want to talk about racism? I guarantee you, you don't want to be in Miami anymore, and you certainly don't want to be in Chicago, of course, the home to more illegal aliens than any other city in the United States. You wouldn't be welcome. You would be in danger. I wonder what kind of racism that is when you as an American citizen have to be afraid for your life if you're walking through these new cities that are simply inundated by immigrants.
Let me ask you one final thought here, Frosty. Why aren't there more people like you, me, and others speaking out and speaking up on this subject? Is there a cowardice? Is there a leaning on these people? Answer that right after we take this call. Quickly, caller. I've only got a couple of minutes left. Real fast.
Zeb, Frosty's absolutely right. I've had a granddaughter that needed to go into a military hospital there at San Diego, Balboa, and my daughter was leery of all the influx on the streets there, just getting into that military hospital. I'll let Frosty kind of comment on it. He's a Marine. So.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Frosty, go ahead, please, and respond to the caller.
Well, I get letters and letters and letters, and my latest thing, the appointed hour of 2020, and I've given 20 different solutions that need to be addressed, and newswithviews.com has that today. And there's no question, the military bases, we now are making sure that we can't have all these Saudi students coming over here learning how to fly airplanes, because they're bringing guns onto the base and shooting up our own people. Those 3 young military boys were killed at Pensacola here recently. But down in San Diego, and of course my daddy was a Marine. I'm former United States Army officer, lieutenant in the Medical Service Corps. But what's happening is the American people are not getting served. And the hospitals, of course, are serving all these illegals. We're paying for it. And their children, of course, the 300 anchor babies every year, 300,000 anchor babies. Again, all of this is going on. And then you ask the question, is somebody leaning on somebody? I have tried for 20 years to get on 60 Minutes. I've tried to get on NPR for 20 years. I've tried to get on PBS. I've tried to get on Anderson Cooper. I've tried to get on Fox News with Jesse Waters, with McCollum, Martha McCollum. I've tried to get on with Tucker Carlson. Somebody is leaning on all of these news places to not really identify or absolutely make sure that they don't report on what's really going on under the surface when it comes to mass immigration into this country. And they've got a lot more money, whether it's a George Soros or whether it's somebody like Biden who sits there and says, open up the borders and let everybody come in. There is unbelievable money also squashing this discussion in Congress. And whoever's got the money to do it, they're doing a very good job of destroying the United States of America, because if this thing continues, if we do take in another 110 million immigrants, there's no way, I don't care what your color is, what your religion is, I don't care what your ethnic background is, I don't care what you are, black, white, red, brown, or yellow. You and I, all of us together, will be literally living in a system that's failing and a country that's unsustainable, and that we all get turned into, guess what? We all get turned into another India, or we get turned into another Mexico. And guess what? Those two countries, India and Mexico, are perfect examples of simply overloading all the systems and no ability, once it occurs, once you land that next 110 million people on in the United States of America, there's no way we can save ourselves. Hopefully, every one of you listening to me speaking, you understand that I'm just giving you the facts. We cannot sustain another 110 million people and be able to sustain our environment, our quality of life, or our standard of living. It is absolutely impossible.
Absolutely.
And those are the facts. And again, facts are not racist.
Very well put. I hate to wrap this up because it's such an outstanding interview with you. But real quick, give me a short answer, Frost. I've got about 30 seconds. Are there others willing, like I mentioned a moment ago, that are willing to stand up and speak out on this besides you and I? I mean, there's not that many people that have the guts to mention it.
That's pretty much right. There's not that many people with the guts. There's Del Erickson over there in Minneapolis. I'm in touch with him. There's Fred Elbel in Denver. I've got colleagues across the country that know what's coming. Again, for those of you who want to, read the book Blip, B-L-I-P, by Chris Clugston. Order it, get it, read it, and you will understand exactly what I'm saying, and he brings the facts. This guy is a brilliant statistician, and he's a brilliant writer. The book, it will sober you, if not depress you, as to what your children are facing if we do not change course and stop all immigration into the United States.
I appreciate you, my dear friend Frosty Woldridge in Golden, Colorado. God bless you, man. Thanks for a very good interview, and I'll talk to you next Monday. Thanks, Frost.
Okay, thanks.
All right, buddy. Take care. Oh, my. Time for the weather forecast. And the weather brought to you by our friends at Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. They've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. You know, you want to work with the best. You want to work with the professionals that can help you, and they will, with the best of tax return preparations, tax planning, business consulting, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. What you need to do is just make an appointment to go in and see them. They have offices at 1710 Overland in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. The best. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Clouds are sticking around for today and expect some snow showers for tonight. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies for today. Winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 28 miles an hour. So Be prepared for drifting snow as we make our way through today. High of 33 tonight. Snow showers are coming. We are expecting a south-southwest wind at about 15 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 23 miles an hour. New snow accumulations of 1 to 2 inches possible for tonight. Tomorrow, the snow is going to continue, looking at about another inch of snow. Going to be breezy as well. Expecting a high of 33. Then for Wednesday, we might see some sunshine. Winds are going to be calming down just a little bit and a high of 30. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to everyone by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I've said it so many times, I'll say it again. They are the professionals helping you, your business, and your family, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Offices in Burley and Rupert, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Want to remind you, too, this is going to be a ripping good deal. Don't forget this. It's going to be starting on Thursday. Thursday's the big day for the 2020 Idaho Irrigation Equipment Show. This Thursday at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center, and it's going to be from 8 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon. Free, no registration. They're going to have over 50 irrigation equipment manufacturers, dealers, distributors of landscape and ag irrigation products, all kinds of educational classes. This is going to be quite an involved show for you at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center this Thursday. Don't miss it, the 2020 Idaho Irrigation Equipment Show in Burley. You be there. Coming up next hour, we've got Armand Brott, and we're going to be talking to him about men and really lonely males and the lifespan and all kinds of things about people that they don't understand about the men in our society and what we can do to help them. Okay, we're going to talk to him about that. And then at 10:30 this morning, don't forget it's the first installment of our Idaho Legislative Update, and we're really looking forward to having them on the air. Want to remind you, too, about 7K Metals. Absolutely a wise decision by Deanne and I to get involved so that we can have silver purchases sent right to our home, and we can help ourselves build a financial security and future. You basically are creating your own security bank through silver purchases. And I really urge you to call two of my friends because they can help you set up your own security and investment package of silver. I urge you to call Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259. Just mention that I told you to call, and they will help you with all the information you need about 7K Metals and silver purchases, as I said, that are sent right to your home. 7K Metals. We're going to take a break right now. Send it over to our main studio. I'll be back in just a few moments. Good morning on a Monday, and they're calling for more snow later on today, so be careful out there. Zeb at the Ranch, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with the best of tires for whatever the weather throws at you. You'll be ready. Stop in and see those good folks today. And along with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And last but not least, Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. And I urge you to call the number. Matt and Kelly Wiggins, seniors, I want your attention. This is a great place for you to call, make an appointment, and go see. The living quarters are absolutely beautiful, and they provide 3 meals a day, plus snacks, plus housekeeping, local transportation. It is a beautiful 12-bedroom home for you. Please contact them today, 650-4979. That number again, 650-4979. Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Let's go to the phone line right now while I still have a little voice left here this morning. For some reason, I'm losing it. And we want to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Armin Brott, and he is the author of the New Father book series, a nationally published columnist on manhood and fatherhood, and host of Positive Parenting, a weekly talk show. Can't wait to visit with him. Armin, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you there?
I'm pretty good, but it's so interesting for me to have somebody on here that's going to talk about the positiveness, if you will, of fathers and the family unit, etc. But then also I noticed on the information sheets that I was provided that being a man and loneliness of being a man can be deadly. Is that right?
Absolutely, and that's something that I think we don't really pay very much attention to, is the fact that over time and almost across every single age group that there is, men are more lonely than women. We are not connecting with other men in particular, and we tend to have fewer friends. We tend to spend more time plugged into our phones and other social media devices than we do to actual humans across the table from us. And the results of that are really devastating. I mean, besides leading to drug and opiate abuse and suicide, they also can lead to increase in a lot of health problems, cardiovascular issues, increased stroke risk and heart attack. It's an ugly situation to not have friends.
Let me ask you this, Armin. Is that kind of a generalized statement that you just said, or is a lot of the problem dependent upon what a person's occupation in life is? I mean, like if you're a rancher out alone all day long as compared to a lawyer that's around people all day long, does that make a difference?
It sounds like it should make a difference, and I think that there probably is a little bit of a difference, but the reality is that it's possible. I think anybody who's been in a relationship that is not going well, you know that you can be lonely even when there are people around. If you don't feel that you really have a purpose in life, or that you're doing something important, or that people are valuing you, or that you are loved and needed and wanted, even if there's a lot of people around you, you are going to feel lonely. Now, being around people, for those who are able to make friends and able to go out and socialize, that certainly makes it a lot easier than people who are, as you're saying, if they're on a farm someplace and they're 100 acres away from actually another human being. But you could feel really important as a farmer who's by himself most of the day if you go to the grocery store and you look at the products that are on the shelves.
I think you would go along with me on this statement when I say this. You can have people around you 24/7, 365, and still be very, very lonesome. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Yes. I think it gets to what I was saying, that if you don't feel that you have a purpose in life, you don't feel that what you're doing is making a difference in the world, or that you are wanted or needed by somebody, that you're going to feel lonely. Even if you have a wife and kids, you can still feel that you're not appreciated, or you're not understood, or not wanted, and that can feel lonely. And I think in many ways the loneliness that you feel when there are other people around is more profound than the loneliness that you feel if you're by yourself. I mean, a lot of people can be by themselves and enjoy reading and enjoy the time walking in the woods or by the river or something. It's nice to have some alone time, but when that crosses into loneliness, it's not such a great thing.
How would you define loneliness? I mean, it's easy to say, well, I'm lonely, or I feel lonesome, or whatever, but what would your classic definition of loneliness be?
I think feeling, I want to say feeling alone, but that doesn't help much, does it? But feeling, again, the lack of purpose, that you are not understood, or that you don't have a role in life, that you could be sitting across the table from somebody, or you can be in the living room with your partner, your wife, your husband, whoever it is, and say, this person just doesn't understand me and doesn't look at me as though I'm important. I think that is really it, is when you feel misunderstood and unappreciated and unloved.
This kind of sets apart the image, if you will, of John Wayne with the macho image. I can do anything, I can handle anything, get out of my way, I can do it myself. This kind of combats that a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, it tells us perhaps that maybe some of John Wayne's stereotypical behavior was covering up some loneliness. That you want to do everything by yourself so that you can show yourself that you can be valuable, that you can be important, that you can take care of things, that you don't need anybody to help you. And in some ways, that's part of the problem. I think from the time that little boys are little boys, we tell them, big boys don't cry and suck it up and play through it. I mean, they were just watching some of the football games yesterday. Somebody's out there playing with broken ribs, and somebody else is playing with a twisted ankle that's been taped up. And the commentators are talking about that with some pride, that, yep, he's out there, he's playing through it. But we're telling people, we're telling men in particular, that the way to be a man, the way to be valuable and important, is to do something that's damaging your body and your soul.
Armin, when I traveled quite a bit, and Wheels over at the main station, we've got a little feedback here. Ride that gain a little bit, if you would, please. I used to travel extensively, and I was gone probably 225, 230 days out of the year. And I can relate and equate with what you're saying about being lonely. I was around people every day, literally thousands of people every day in my speaking engagements. But boy, when you're alone, when you're on the road, you're really alone. And loneliness really can set in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's part of it is that I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that when we're younger, we play team sports and we're in groups of people and we all have a common goal and we're all working towards an objective together and we're all members of the team. We're valuable. We understand each other. And as we get older and we start having kids, we start having a family, we don't have those same opportunities for the groups to get together. And so we have a tendency to just not have friends around. And women are much better at getting together one-on-one and having coffee or even talking on the phone. And guys are less likely to do those kinds of things that can maintain those relationships. So you don't have to have a group of people around you. You need to get together once a week. Find a friend that you haven't talked to for a little while or somebody that you have talked to for a while, but get together, and even an hour or two can help really make the rest of the week go by in a much less lonely fashion.
How serious is this problem? I mean, what to do about the problem and how serious is this problem? I mean, a lot of people today probably don't want to mention this word, but with the lonely thoughts and feeling of inadequacy and not having any friends, really close friends, there's one word that always comes prominently to the forefront, and that's suicide. Does this lead to that potential problem?
Absolutely, and it leads to a lot of other problems on the way to suicide. If you look at the opiate epidemic that we talk so much about these days, 60 to 70% of all opiate deaths and overdoses are male. And if you look at a lot of the issues with suicide themselves, 75%, if you mention this, 3 out of every 4 suicides are men and boys. And I think that is a direct result of loneliness. It's a direct result of a lot of other things as well. But people who commit suicide are likely, before having done that, to have abused drugs or alcohol or gotten involved in some kind of criminal activity, which is also an increase because of loneliness, because of this not feeling valuable. So if you're a young man, and particularly in a lower income area, you may decide that the way to be a man is to look at the John Wayne model and get out there and beat somebody up. And the opportunities you have for that and the feedback, the positive feedback that you get for that is from other people who are in a similar situation who believe the same thing. And part of that has to do with the book series that you mentioned of mine about fathers, is that they're not the father role models around to show young men how to behave and what to do and what not to do and what constitutes being a man.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. I think that there is a fine line. Again, these are my words, and I'm not as well up on this subject by far as compared to you. But I think there's a fine line of trying to be too much of a man or not enough of a man. In other words, I think our society has feminized men so badly in our society today that it's really tough for a good role model as a father figure because we've been feminized. Is that true or not?
Well, I think you're right. Ultimately, what it comes down to, I mean, we could argue about the words, but I think you're right. That what we've done is we've told young men in particular and boys that there's something wrong about being a man. That masculinity, the phrase toxic masculinity is the one that makes me want to tear my hair out more than anything else, is that masculinity itself, the very fact of being male, is toxic. And that is so offensive to me and so disturbing, I'm guessing you would agree, that what are we supposed to do as men if what we're told is the way that we're born is wrong, the way that we simply appear on our birth certificate is toxic, and we are not appreciating the valuable things that men do, and we're not telling young men that you don't have to go off and do toxic things in order to prove that you're a man. You can be a loving, caring father. You can be a loving, caring husband or brother, and that does not make you a wimp, because that's what we're told in a way. What it makes you is a positive contributor to your family and your society.
You know, I think you've hit it right on the head, and yes, we're on the same page, but I think that I was born and raised in a very tough German household, and I was born and raised to the fact that you will open the door for the ladies. You will do certain things. That's the manly and the expected attitude that you should have, and I'm not sorry for it at all, because I think that German upbringing gave me a sense of toughness, if you will, that has seen me through a lot of hard times.
Well, I think it may not necessarily be the German upbringing. I think there's just a way of growing up as a young man is you get up and you open the door. Exactly what I was thinking before you said that. You open the door, you hold the door for people.
Right.
The thing is, you hold the door for a man as well as a woman. It doesn't make any difference. It's whoever gets there first opens the door. Mm-hmm. And I think what's interesting, and you tell me if you observe this over the next couple of days, if you are walking through a door after somebody and the person before you has let the door close on you or let the door slam in your face, that person is most likely a female. And I don't want to say anything negative about women, but I think women don't get the same message that they need to hold the door open for the person behind them, too. It's just basic politeness.
Let me interrupt you right there, though, and say a circumstance that happened to me a couple of years ago. Walking into our county courthouse, I opened the door for a lady behind me, and she was probably about 29, 30, in that age bracket. And I stood back and held the door, and she said, "Sir, I can open the door by myself." And at that vein, I wanted to just let the door go and let her walk into it. But I said, "No, go ahead." And she was adamant that she would not go through that door. And she went through another door that she opened by herself. That was, I thought, extremely rude.
Yeah, it's essentially saying to you, you being a man, by virtue of the fact that you were a man, you're doing something wrong. Instead of being just polite. I mean, what's the matter with holding a door? I mean, it has become a big metaphor these days for the relationships between men and women, and I've had similar kinds of things with people glaring at me for my holding a door. But what's wrong with that? I'm not going to. I don't know how old you are, but I'm in my 50s. I'm not going to stop holding doors for people because I think it's the right thing to do. And if somebody wants to cut in front of me in traffic, I'm going to probably slow down and let them in, whether they're male or female.
Yeah. I agree. I'm a lot older than you are. I'm 72, and I was born and raised with a set of values that society today will not change. Saying that, I wanted to ask you questions about the man of the family, the father figure, the head of that family. I think we've got so far removed from sitting down together, praying over a good meal and enjoying a good meal, conversing with each other. Those are days kind of like the pictures on the front page of the Saturday Evening Post magazine from days gone by. The family, to me, is really on the brink of complete disaster. Do you agree or not?
Absolutely, and I think all you need to do is go to a restaurant where families are having dinner together. And I've noticed this over the past 10 years, that instead of families talking together or even the kids filling out the kids' menus that they get with the crayons, everybody's sitting with a phone, staring at a phone, and nobody's talking. And a lot of that is happening the same in people's kitchens and dining rooms, is people aren't talking to each other. But the reality of it is, if you get specifically to the father aspect of this, when dads are involved in the family, and when dads have regular meals with their kids and talk to them, the kids do better. They're less likely to flunk out of school. They're going to get better grades. They're more likely to go on to college. They're more likely to have better careers, less likely to abuse drugs and alcohol. And that comes from specifically the dad being involved and asking about their day and talking to them about their own day, how the challenges that they face. Kids need to know that we face challenges too. But if the dad is sitting there on his phone, nothing's going to happen.
You know, what you just brought up is, how do we change that in society today? I mean, I saw something the other day. I commented last week on my program, Armin, that I was at the doctor's office. A young couple walked in. They sat down, and for over 30 minutes while I was sitting there, just less than maybe 7 feet from them, they never said a word to each other, and they each were playing with their own cell phones, their own smartphones, never talking to each other or anyone else.
I wish I could change that. I don't think that it's going to be possible. I mean, I think that it's going to have to happen. Whatever change happens is going to happen to be on an individual basis. I with my kids, and if I go to my sister's house and I'm dealing with her kids who are a little bit younger than mine, to say, look, we're sitting at the dinner table, we're going to have a conversation. It doesn't have to be a really deep conversation. You don't have to talk about your feelings or anything else, but we're going to talk about school or politics or life or whatever it is. We are not going to be playing games on our phone when we're with another human being. I mean, if you're in line at the post office or something and you don't know anybody, okay, check your email. That's fine. You don't have to get into conversations with strangers if you don't feel like it. But if you're with a relative or a friend, what is the point of being out with your friends and your family if you're just going to be playing on your phone? You could stay home and do that.
You know, you have written the book called The New Father Book Series. Give us a little background on that series, if you would, please.
Sure. It starts with a book called The Expectant Father, which deals with pregnancy and childbirth, and then it goes on to the new father, a dad's guide to the first year, then there's a dad's guide to the toddler years and the school years, and there's one for single fathers, and one of my favorites is the one for military fathers. And the theme that runs through all of them is to make sure that dads know how incredibly important they are in their kids' lives, that they play a super important but different role than the mom does. Equally important is the most important thing to understand, is that what the dad contributes is just as important as what the mom does. But so many dads don't understand their role and how valuable that role is and the benefits that it provides to kids and to themselves as well and to their marriage. But so I try to give dads the tools and the support and the resources to become the dads that they want to be and that their family needs them to be.
I can never replace the great lingering memories every day of my son and I going fishing. And out here in this country, we rope a lot. It's a sport for us, team roping, and my son and I roping together. My daughter and I roping together, going to all their basketball, football, and volleyball games. Man, those are memories of being involved as a dad that you just can't replace.
No, I wish that I could go roping with my kids, but there's nothing to rope out here except trees. But I think what you're pointing out, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, I'm guessing that you're raising back to this idea of masculinity, is that we've told men that men cannot be intimate. And I think I look back and I think some of the most intimate moments that I have with my father, or maybe with any other human being, were playing catch with him out in the field.
Absolutely.
We're 30, 40 yards apart.
Yep.
And we're not talking, but we're doing something that is creating a memory. And I would imagine that while you're out roping cattle or whatever, you're probably not spending a lot of time talking to your kids, but you're doing something and you're building that memory that you just raised so beautifully. But that's intimacy in a different way. It's a different way of being intimate than women are, but it's no less valuable. And when we tell men that they can't be intimate or that whatever you're doing is not right, that doesn't help anybody. It feeds the idea that there's something wrong with men and with masculinity.
You have got to promise to come back on this program. This gentleman's name is Armin Brott. He's the author of the new Father Book series, and I really appreciate your comments this morning. I'm going to hold you to the fire and make sure that we get you back on a future date. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much. Mr. Armin Brott, right here on the program, and talking about a subject that's near and dear to me, and that's fatherhood and parenting and families like the good old days. Appreciate him being on the program this morning. Right now, I've got a couple of good words to give you, and then we're going to send it back over to our main studio. I want to remind you about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More with their great big January flooring event. Oh, my goodness, all your carpeting needs, all your luxury vinyl needs for your entire home. Oh, you'd better check it out today. You can get carpet right now at prices that are unheard of. You can get the standard carpet right now for only $69 per month. You can get the better carpet for $89 per month, and the premium carpet for $99 per month. You can check it out and carpet your living room, hall, and 3 bedrooms at special low prices. Check it out today at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More for their big January flooring event. Whether it's the flooring, whether it's all the furniture, they are the best at what they do. Please get a hold of them today. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. They're waiting right this minute to serve you. I want to remind you, too, about somebody else that's waiting to serve you, and that's our friends over at Patterson's Electronics. My goodness sakes, they are just really nice people. And you know that they are your electronic needs headquarters at 421 East Main in Burley with Curtis and Lorena and the rest of the crew. Now, they are getting in right now daily the new car audio systems. The new models are coming, and they are going to have one just for you. They've got all your electronic needs, like I said. Home theater systems, surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers. Oh boy, all the TVs from Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, and LG TVs. What a selection. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and they're waiting to serve you at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. Right now, we're going to send it over to Wheels. We'll be back with the Idaho Legislative Update in just 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you. A real quick reminder again, the 2020 Idaho Irrigation Equipment Show. This week at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center. It's going to be this Thursday, January 16th from 8 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon. It's free, no registration, and over 50 irrigation equipment manufacturers, dealers, distributors of landscape and ag irrigation products, along with educational classes. What a day, what a meeting for you. You be sure and be there. 2020 Idaho Irrigation Equipment Show this Thursday at the Best Western Burley Inn Convention Center. Right now it's time for the Idaho Legislative Update, and we're very, very proud to have this sponsored by Handy Truck Lines at 400 West, 100 South of Paul, and we thank Clay and the rest of his crew. They've been in business since 1928, serving the entirety of the Northwest, and we certainly appreciate their diligence in coming back on as a sponsor for us again this year with the Idaho Legislative Update. And with us on the telephone, we're very proud to start the program off for this year with the Speaker of the House, Mr. Scott Bedke. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
I'm very well, Zeb. Good morning.
It's so good to have you on the program, and I've got a lot of things to get through in a short period of time, and so we're going to kind of shotgun things here a little bit. First and foremost, my question would be, Speaker, what are some of the most prominent issues that have to be addressed at this legislative session?
Well, things that have to be addressed and things that we will address, of course, are probably two different lists. But the things we have to do is we have to go through all of the agency rules. Remember, at the end of last session, the legislature let all of the agency rules lapse or die. And so the governor has rewritten all of those rules and submitted those to the legislature for review. Now, in that process, Idaho has become, the least regulated state in the union, and our hat is off to the governor and his state agencies for having gone through and simplified and removed and streamlined our rules that most people come in contact with. I mean, that's the regulated public worries more about the rules and the regulations than the laws that from which the rules and regulations came. And so in Idaho, we have a process where we check those rules against the parent or against the statute from which it came to make sure it's still consistent with the underlying law. And so that process is in place now, and we're working on that. The other thing that we have to do is to set a budget. And this year, the budget proposals that have come from Governor Little are austere and are been very well received by most legislators. And so there's not going to be as much conflict between what the governor wants to do and what the legislature does this year, because the governor has proposed a pretty austere 3.75 year-over-year budget, which is basically just population growth and inflation. So that was well received, particularly in the House of Representatives. Some of the other things that we will talk about and that need attention are, the Medicaid funding. The current Medicaid was funded only through the end of this fiscal year, so that means on June 30th there's no funding for it. So we will have to find a way to do that. And the governor and others, certainly I'm a proponent of this, is that the money that is saved by expanding Medicaid, whether that be in the prisons budget or in the health and welfare budget or even in a county budget, that the money that is being saved by this expansion, that those offsets should be used to pay for the state share of the expanded Medicaid population. And so I am very confident. I won't support anything that puts new money into that. It's got to be a repurposing of the old money. Just because, and since the program went away, we don't want it to create a windfall in the agency's budget, including the county. So there's that. Other things, we're coming. The governor had a new education task force that came with some recommendations. It takes up where he left off last year on pushing for K-3 literacy and making sure that more of our kids are reading at grade level by the time they leave the third grade, and that's so important. And there's no pushback on that. Everyone agrees with that. That's a goal that everyone can get behind, and so there's not going to be much of a concern there. Maybe where some of the concerns will come in is with teacher pay. Not that anyone has a problem with that per se, but there's still some controversy, not really controversy, but some questions around the career ladder and the last installment on the career ladder, and is that the best place to put the money? And for example, our districts in our area came with me with another idea to more fully fund the non-teachers, we call them classified positions within the school district. and because it seems that in our area, where the state sends $1 to cover that cost, our school districts in the Magic Valley are spending about $1.50 to cover that. So they have to rob Peter to pay Paul. And the superintendents in our area asked that the next place they support the literacy, but then that one of the next places we spend money would be on more fully funding that other part of the formula, and then they would say that would free up money for them to address the teacher retention issues that they have locally. And so that's an idea that kind of resonates with me as well. But that remains to be seen. Other things, we're going to redistrict the state next cycle, and so in 2022 we'll all be running in new legislative districts. And so how that process goes is there'll be some minor legislation there. But keep in mind, if we change any of the way we redistrict it, that is a change to the Constitution. And, and our neighbors, you and I, will vote on that in the ballot box after it. We'll put forth a proposal from the legislature, but then any changes to that process will have to be made by the citizens. So anyway, that'll get us started. I mean, we can come back to any of those topics. Grocery tax, sales tax on food is another thing that the governor brought up in his State of the State, and would like to have some closure on that. And I have never been a proponent of removing the sales tax from food, because in Idaho right now, you and I both enjoy, well, every citizen of the state that files an income tax return gets a $100 grocery tax credit. If we're a senior citizen, we get $120 of grocery tax credit. And how that works is that, so if you have a family of four, then you would get $400 worth of grocery tax credit. And that credit has the effect of protecting approximately $560 worth of groceries purchases each month. And so, for all intents and purposes, that's a long way to say, and for all intents and purposes, the current program goes most of the way of negating any sales tax on food that you may pay right now, and it keeps people filing, and that's a good thing. And it also catches keeping the sales tax on food catches all of the out-of-staters, and they don't enjoy the same tax break that Idahoans do, and all of the people that don't pay taxes, kind of in the underground economy, they all have to eat, and then they are taxed when they buy food. And so for those reasons, I've always opposed taking the sales tax off of food per se, and been more in the line with the grocery tax credit, because I think it's a more efficient way to run the government, because you know, if you and I are going to pay our taxes, we want everybody else to pay theirs too. Mm-hmm. And because if they don't, then it puts a greater burden on us. And I think through this grocery tax credit, that's a good way to collect that. It basically negates the sales tax on food we pay, but it keeps everybody filing, and it collects from the out-of-staters. So anyway, we can come back to any of those subjects now if you'd like, and
well, I tell you what I want to do, Scott. I want to make a statement, and I want you to either affirm or disavow my statement. I've got a list here of over 20 different issues that I know you and the legislature are going to be discussing over the next couple of months. And I think one of the most frivolous and stupid, I will use that language, issues that is taking your time and wasting our money is the gender change on birth certificates. There's a lot better things to talk about than something that is as frivolous a waste of time as that is.
Well, I would agree, but with this qualification, that is something that we should not do by rule. That should be something that should be done by law. And so, one thing that they will do is that they will take. We lost the state of Idaho, the way we did that before, anyway, the courts found that lacking. And so then, by default, the state agency came with a rule that basically said if you want to change it, you can. And it was maybe not quite that simple, but pretty much. And we have legislators here that will bring a law that will govern the process of changing your your gender on your birth certificate. So anyway, you can't have the hurdle too high, because if you want to go change your name, or if you want adoption, that changes birth certificates. So when we allow in one area, we have to maybe allow another. But having a doctor, a doctor's attestation, or certainly for anyone that's that's under 18, and court the other way. Anyway, we're spending too much time on it right here, but it is it's pretty foolish for most citizens. That's a pretty black and white issue for them.
Absolutely.
I get it.
I do want to end the program by talking about an issue that's been with us for a couple of years now, since the last election especially, and that's the Medicaid expansion and where's the money going to come from. You mentioned just a moment ago that you're setting the budgets, and you only have so much money to entertain giving and passing out to these various subjects, and where's the money going to come from on Medicaid? I mean, there's a lot of loopholes that haven't had the knots tied yet.
Right. For example, in the Department of Corrections, since that population will now be covered by Medicaid and not by other means, then the money that we use will now be used to cover the state's share of Medicaid. So that's one of the offsets. Another offset is a similar program at Department of Health and Welfare. That is, that's another offset because we basically create, Medicaid creates a safety net that was being used either through our county indigency programs or our state catastrophic health care fund. And now that they are qualified for Medicaid, that population needs neither. And so the monies that we can save by discontinuing the programs will be used to fund Medicaid. And the good news, I guess, is that the numbers of enrollments are running within the projected numbers. And so we've got to come up with about $42 million worth of savings in the ways I've just described it. It looks like we'll have plenty of money to do that. And so that's how it will be funded. We're not going to rob other programs of their new money to do this, but it will be the money that went to support that population before now qualifies for Medicaid. So we'll bring that money that went to their support back into the Medicaid program. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. Real quick question. I can't touch on all the subjects this morning, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about public land access. A lot of folks are worried about the cutting back and the curtailing, if you will, of access to our public lands. Is this going to be addressed in this legislative session? I've got 3 minutes left.
All right. Well, I think that it will be. Keep in mind that if there's ever been public money spent on any private road or any road that goes across private property, that is a public right-of-way. Now, that doesn't give them access to the other land, but it gives them access to get across the land. And so there have been some big chunks of property change hands here in Idaho, and the new owners have shut the roads. But they are mistaken about the closing. If there's been public money spent, and I think in most cases there probably has been, but those roads cannot be closed to the public. You and I are staunch supporters of private property rights, and that nothing has changed there. But if we have let the public go across our land in the past, or if there's ever been, then they've many ways, in most ways, have created a right to get across that. Now, if we close our gates, every so often to serve notice that they do it as a privilege and not as a right, then that's how we get around it on most instances. But if the state, including the counties or other municipalities, have ever spent money for snow removal or any of that type of stuff, then that automatically becomes a public accessible road.
Scott, it's absolutely a blessing to have you on the air. Any final thoughts as we have our premier program start off with the Idaho Legislative Update? Any final thoughts? I've got a minute left as to what you're going to be going into right after we hang up the phone.
Well, as quick as we hang up the phone, we'll be going out on the House floor. And, of course, this time of year, there's not a lot of bills on the House floor because all the work is being done down in the committee. So you got to get stuff coming in on that end of the pipeline to come to the end of the pipeline, which is the debate on the House floor. So we're not doing much other than just the rudimentary things here now. I would remind the public and your listeners that they can tune in. They can watch our floor sessions, but they can also tune in and listen and, depending on the room, watch the proceedings in each of the committee rooms, both the House and the Senate, including JFAC. That's all online. So you can go to Idaho Public Television and you can tune in and listen to that. In addition, if you just have questions or you have an issue you want raised, just call me or call Fred or call Kelly. Representative Wood and Senator Henson. And you'll find that we're very accessible. Shoot us an email, and with your phone number, we can call you back, and we can answer your questions and get to the bottom and help citizens navigate the red tape that sometimes surrounds the government process. Is probably as useful a function as we do, and I do that a lot, and very happy to do that. Like I say, all three of us are very happy to take your people's calls and to help them any way that we can. The answer is not always yes. The answer is not always no either. So we've got a pretty good track record, and we encourage people to reach out to us.
Ladies and gentlemen, Speaker of the House Scott Bedke taking the time out of his busy schedule to be on our first program of the Idaho Legislative Update. Speaker Bedke, have a wonderful session, and we'll look forward to having you back in the not-too-distant future. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome, Deb. Keep in mind, I'm Representative Bedke first, and then Speaker Bedke second. So I am everyone's legislator, and I'm not without some influence on helping them with their stuff.
Absolutely.
Call us if you need to.
Thank you very much, Representative and Speaker of the House Scott Bedke. Thank you. On the Idaho Legislative Update, brought to you by Handy Truck Lines. I'll tell you what, these folks have been serving businesses in Idaho and the surrounding states since 1928. You can depend on Handy Truck Lines. They deliver the goods, and we're so glad to have them as our feature sponsor of the Idaho Legislative Update for 2020. Handy Truck Lines, 400 West, 100 South of Paul, 438-5071. Right now it's time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, and they're located at 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. All the delicious meats, whether it's the different bacons or the sausage or the bratwurst or the tri-tips or the pork ribs, you name it, it's all wonderful and delicious. Check it out today, Scarrows Meats in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the forecast.
Clouds are sticking around for today and expect some snow showers for tonight. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies for today. Winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 28 miles an hour. So be prepared for drifting snow as we make our way through today. High of 33 tonight. Snow showers are coming. We are expecting a south-southwest wind at about 15 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 23 miles an hour. New snow accumulations of 1 to 2 inches possible for tonight. Tomorrow, the snow is going to continue, looking at about another inch of snow. Going to be breezy as well. Expecting a high of 33. Then for Wednesday, we might see some sunshine Winds are going to be calming down just a little bit in a high of 30. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb.
Thank you, Gina. And the weather forecast brought to you by Scarrows Meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. Again, that telephone number to call, 324-7657. As I mentioned, you can go to their website, check it all out at scarrowsmeats.com. Delicious meats from Scarrows Meats in Jerome, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Want to remind you, too, about our major sponsor, and we really are so thankful to have them on the program, and they've been with us for many years, and that's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And they've got kind of a motto for this time of the year that says, be ready for any weather conditions with the best of tires for your cars and vehicles. They've got the tires that'll get you through with the best of tread designs. They've got all the sizes. They've got all the different kinds, too, like the Winter Cat Increased Stability Tire, the Himalaya Tire Enhanced Grip Studded Tire. Boy, they can get you through all the mud, the muck, the ice, and the snow. Stop in and see them. They've got your tire chains. They've got the best in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. I urge you to stop into any one of the 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They've been doing the right thing since 1952. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike in Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. That's going to wrap it up for today. Tomorrow on the program, we're going to have Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance. We're going to have Gregory Wrightstone talking about the total idiocy of the climate change move, and we're going to have Dr. History. We've got other people, including attorney James Herson from California, coming on. So all of that and more for tomorrow's program, where we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be. And when we wrap up the program, we say these 4 words: in God we trust. Have a wonderful day. Be safe out there if it starts to snow again. And we'll see you tomorrow morning right here at 8:06.